A lot of people ask me, there's so many words in a foreign language, how do I memorize all these words, right? You don't actually need to memorize all of these words because a lot of these words are not actually commonly used in our day-to-day life, right? So what you got to do is that you have to memorize the most essential words first. For example, 2,000 most commonly used English words, or the most commonly used 2,000 Spanish words, or the most commonly used 2,000 French words, whichever your target language is. So you basically start with the most essential words, most useful words first. You don't have to memorize words like, calefascion, which is a word that a lot of native English speakers may not even know. And then you try to expand your vocabulary little by listening to audios, for example, by listening to podcasts, by talking to native speakers, or by talking to anybody that speaks the language really well, or by reading text, for example, right? You do a bunch of things to improve your vocabulary. Throughout the process of reading something, or throughout the process of watching a video or something, you're able to absorb new information. So whenever you come across a new word or something, you can look it up and you can write it down. So you're going to be able to expand your vocabulary little by little. You're not going to be able to do something overnight. A lot of people are not even familiar with the most basic vocabulary, and they're trying to learn really advanced words, maybe GRE words or GMAT words. It's just not necessary because a lot of these words are not used in our day-to-day conversations. You're not going to be able to show off unless you already have a really good level. And plus, I think in English, there are a lot of phrasal verbs. Like, for example, take up, right? It takes up a lot of space. Okay, this painting over here takes up a lot of space, for example. So take up, right? You have take it up a notch. You have take something away, you have take somebody down, right? So you have a lot of these phrasal verbs. So it's not about how much vocabulary you know, it's not about accumulating vocabulary, it's not about having, for example, 10,000 words, right? It's more about being able to use them. You really have to know how to use them effectively. So I think it's very important to learn all these phrasal verbs, and it's very important to, read example sentences to know exactly how they're used. You really have to learn them in context, whether it be watching a video or listening to a native speaker talking about something, or actually using the language. For example, when I came back to China from the UK in 2013, there was a very popular word over here in China that was used almost on a daily basis, 土豪. So everybody was saying to me, for example, this guy is a 土豪, this person is a 土豪, somebody on TV is a 土豪, right? And that's how I picked up this word. I learned it in the most organic way possible. I never learned it from a grammar book. I never learned it from a vocabulary book. I was able to pick it up, right? So this is what language is all about. You have to use it. There are a few other examples that I can think of, actually. I remember when I came back to China to work in 2017, 2018, I never knew the meaning of 老司机 or the meaning of 开车. And somebody used it in the office. Somebody was saying to somebody else, somebody is driving the car. And I was like, what does that mean, right? And they explained it to me once. I was able to remember that word right away because, somebody made a joke and that expression was used to describe that kind of situation. I was able to pick it up naturally. So I think this is a very important takeaway. You should always learn it from a context. And if there's no context, you should try to create a scenario. For example, if you see a word from a vocabulary book or something that you don't know, you can look up some examples about this word. Once you're able to associate that word with a scenario, you're going to be able to remember that word a lot more easily, right? So I think you should always try to practice as much as possible and try to create different scenarios where you're able to use all of your vocabulary. And even if you're not able to use language, you can create examples, you can read sentences, and you should always expand your vocabulary little by little. For example, with the 2,000 words or 3,000 words that you know, you expand it little by little. Maybe over a period of, for example, a month or something, you absorb like 500 words or 1,000 words, but you really know how to use these words because you've seen them in context, you know how to make sentences with them. And I think it's not about how much vocabulary you know, but rather whether or not you're able to use them effectively, right? This is the most important thing, okay? So that's it for today. If you guys are interested in language learning, please subscribe to my channel. If you have any ideas about topics that I can talk about, you can also post them in the comment section below. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys again soon. Bye-bye.